While Ridley Scott's Prometheus is not a direct prequel to Alien, it does, as he puts it, contain DNA from the Alien series. So I decided to revisit Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. I have seen bits and pieces of the Alien films on TV over the years when I was younger. I saw more of them when I was younger, and so therefore I really didn't remember them much. So I decided to revisit them with Prometheus coming up. Even though I've been told that it's not a direct prequel, I still wanted to be aware of every little thing that I might notice in Prometheus. So I went back and first off, of course, watched Alien, the original 1979 film that started it all from Ridley Scott himself. Now, this movie holds up in a lot of ways, and it's also dated in a lot of ways. I would say that the most interesting thing I can say about this is I know what the alien looks like. Everybody knows what the alien looks like. They've seen him over the years on various things, TV shows, spoofs, the movies themselves, whatever. But when you watch this movie, you have to keep in mind that back in the day, nobody knew what this thing looked like. So when people saw it for the first time, they probably shat their pants. I, however, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, I've seen it before, what's it gonna do? I already knew it does that. So it's a little difficult to watch it because you know all of that. And the real major surprise for the movie, there's some story element surprises, but the major surprise is just what the alien looks like, what it does, all of that. So because that element is kind of lost, it's a little bit difficult to watch. However, Aliens I actually enjoyed considerably more because I thought that it was a more interesting story. It was kind of just like a next level story from the first one to the next one. The first one was much smaller of a story. The next one felt a little bit bigger. And I think it's one of the very few times that I didn't hate a child in a movie. Usually they're very annoying, but I actually didn't think this kid was that annoying. Although, it's the only movie she ever did. So, only problem is at this point there's kind of an element of the story that's getting very repetitive that has to do with androids, and it just, I was like, is this going to happen in every movie? I feel like there's just kind of a revelation of an android in every movie. But that was just like the one little thing I noticed that was a little bit weird. Otherwise, I was very happy that, you know, Sigourney Weaver came back. That was great. And of course, the end of it is fantastic with the mech suit and all that jazz. It's very, very cool. Then we move on to Alien 3, which is where I had been told the series kind of starts to take a downward turn. But I actually enjoyed it. I thought the story was interesting. It was different from the second one. You know, the first one and the second one were very similar. I thought this one was considerably different. And so I actually enjoyed it overall, and I thought it was great the way it ended. It kind of wrapped everything up, and I really appreciated that there was a returning character. Aside from Sigourney Weaver, there was a returning character and actor, and I thought that was great. Then we move on to Alien Resurrection, which I had heard undoubtedly is the worst of the series. And the funny thing about it is, I actually really enjoyed it. Now, it is very silly. It's very silly because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and I can absolutely understand how someone who had, like, seen the original in theaters and was watching them all might not like it. I can get that. But because I was kind of marathoning them, you know, one night after the next, I was watching them all in like a week. And I thought that it was a lot of fun, actually. I was watching it with a friend, and we were laughing. We were having a lot of fun with it. So, you know, the fact that we were laughing and having fun may mean that it's not very good. But because I enjoyed the experience of watching it, I actually enjoyed it. And I thought the story was interesting, too. Once again, silly, but at least it was different. And once again, Sigourney Weaver came back. This is the only time where it's like, yeah, it's cool she keeps coming back, but got anything else going on? You know, it's getting a little bit much, especially with her character in this one. It was kind of crazy, but at least, once again, at least it was different. It wasn't the exact same thing again, so I can appreciate that. Now, I did not say who all the directors are, and you may know, and you may not know, and you may be surprised if you don't know. So the first one is Ridley Scott. The second movie was directed by James Cameron, and the third movie was directed by David Fincher. The fourth one doesn't really matter. It's not as big of a deal, but that's like some of the biggest names in movies today. They all had a hand in the Alien series, which I thought was extremely interesting. Now, while the director of the fourth doesn't really relate in that sense, the writer does. Joss Whedon. For God's sake, I had no idea until I started watching it, and I was like, what? But everyone says this is awful, but Joss Whedon wrote it. Turns out, I looked it up. Apparently, Joss said that they didn't do a good job with his script, but I do think it's funny that I enjoyed the story of the fourth one, and it turns out that Joss Whedon wrote it, and that he thinks the directing wasn't very good. So, there you go. Overall, very interesting. You got, once again, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, David Fincher, and then Joss Whedon wrote the fourth one. What in the world is this series? Very strange, very interesting, but overall, I really enjoyed these movies. Some of them, you know, in some places were dated, like I said, but overall I think they held up. The aliens in the fourth one were my favorite, by the way, by far. I don't know how people feel about that, but I thought they were the coolest, awesomest aliens for sure. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this series. I can see and appreciate how it must have been to see them for the first time in theaters, and I can, you know, it makes it better for me because obviously I'm watching them years and years later. But I really enjoyed it, so let me know what you think of the Alien series overall. Which Alien movie is your favorite? The first one, the second one, the third Power one with the tiny little 3 on the title, and the Resurrection. Which ones are your favorite? Obviously not talking about AVP because that's separate, I guess. But let me know anything that you want about the Alien series, and that's pretty much it.